Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since I've really posted on here. And with college basketball season kind of getting right into year with less than a month away until we're into March and starting with March Madness and conference tournaments. What better time to start talking about it up again? It's really been an exciting college basketball season, an exciting college football season where my Indiana Hoosiers ended up winning the national championship. We'll talk about their basketball team as well. It's starting to come on as of late, a little bit later on, but I just thought I'd start to post here again. Love to talk about college basketball, and what better way to fill up my free time than talking to you guys, talking to myself, more than likely on here. So kind of starting it off, I'll just talk about how good is this freshman class that we have. Oh my goodness. Whether it's, AJ DeBonsa, Darren Peterson, who's probably going to be the number one pick, so long as no injuries, and Cam Boozer, who's the favorite to win the National Player of the Year. There's just so many good freshmen in this year's draft class that will most likely end in college basketball. Kind of how they are affecting it. And it's really cool to see just how good a lot of these, college freshmen have been when, it's a time, and even with Indiana in football, everyone complained, they're older. You like to see, the older players, they're the ones thriving. Getting to see how good, these 17, 18-year-old freshmen are playing against, these older 22, 23-year-olds and kind of dominate. Just like a lot of them are just outright dominating these games. And obviously it's very different football compared to basketball, but it's just a really cool thing to see so many of these freshmen really kind of put their stamp into the college game and just remind people that it's not all about those super seniors like Chad Baker Mazar. Don't get me started on him, but it's really about how well these freshmen are. It will probably be, when it comes to March, though, a more senior-led team, or more, at least, veterans, maybe not senior level, but veterans on the team. Those are the most important. We'll talk about that when it comes to March, but I think that's what's will really drive teams to kind of be able to win it all. So kind of just looking at these freshmen right now, it is debatable. Is it the best freshman class ever? In my lifetime, I think it probably is. Even got Keaton Wagler, was a dude that came out as a 3-star. He wasn't a 5-star, like Darren Peterson, Cam Boozer, AJ DeBonsa, Caleb Wilson, even Pete. But he has, as of late, really turned it on, up in 44, 45 points at Purdue. I just had another great game and a great win at Nebraska. Illinois is really peaking at the right time. They're playing some phenomenal basketball. But just looking at how these freshmen have dominated, Darren Peterson, has that injury bug a little bit, that hamstring kind of an injury that tends to linger. It's a little tough for him. Did play the full game last night against Texas Tech in a great win where they were down 10 with about, I think, a little under 5 minutes to go. He hits the 2-3, the 3 to tie it, and then the 3 to go up 3 with under a minute left. And they hold on to beat Texas Tech on the road, which was just a huge win. I know Texas Tech was missing Christian Anderson. He's definitely probably their second best player behind Toppin, their best guard at least, so it's kind of tough. But you gotta be able to kind of battle through adversity, especially when you play in a league like the Big 12. And then you look at Cameron Boozer and what he's doing over at Duke, almost 24 points per game, almost 10 rebounds, 4 assists. He's great defensively, just absolutely, just an overall, just freak of an athlete, freak of a specimen, and the way he can battle in the paint and then step out and be able to hit the 3. AJ DeBonsa also just has been fantastic. I got the pleasure of at least seeing him in the Garden, where he kind of went nuclear. Not nuclear. He had a phenomenal game against Clemson and hit some very NBA level type shots that were just unbelievable to see. Kind of touched on Wagler before. Caleb Wilson over at UNC, who honestly, he's been phenomenal. Some of the stuff he's done over there at UNC. It's pretty crazy how good he's been, and honestly, how little he's really talked about. compared to at least the top three and even Wagler as of late. He's just all over the floor. When I watch him play, he's always diving for loose balls. He's always down there grabbing rebounds, and he hits some NBA level shots too. Just like I said with Devonta, he hits some great turnaround shots as well. And then kind of looking at another guard, more guards oriented, and you look at Kingston Flemings and kind of what he's done at Houston and being able to kind of right the ship and lead into that point guard role, especially when you look at Houston in the past, where it's Jamal Shed, and some others as well, about how they really have kind of usually a senior led point guard, and kind of seeing a freshman at the helm is pretty interesting. Usually not how Houston is built, but he is built like a veteran. The way he plays, almost over 17 points per game, 5 assists. Both games against Texas Tech, he was just absolutely phenomenal. I think the first game he had 30, 38, 39, and then the second game he had 40. Just absolutely ridiculous. And then another player that I see does not get the national coverage that I think he should, is Darius Acuff Jr. He's not really talked about nationally, at least from what I see, compared to the rest here. Another great guard at Arkansas. He's quietly averaging over 20 points per game with 6 assists, playing phenomenal and leading that kind of point guard role over at Arkansas. I know they just took a tough loss to Kentucky, but Arkansas has looked really good this year. They played probably one of the hardest non-cons, playing every single Elite Eight team from last year, which is just absolutely nuts to think about. But I think that's something that is definitely going to help them when it comes to March time, and they're definitely a team, especially because they might not be in that top 3 or I think they'll maybe be a 4 seed, but if they go beyond that, they're definitely a team to watch out to make a little bit of a run there as well. And then Braden Burries, in my opinion, he is the best freshman. I know a lot of people would say Koa Pete. I think Koa Pete is great. Definitely very good down low. He's been playing phenomenal. But I think the last about month and a half, 2 months, Braden Burries has been phenomenal for Arizona, and really being able to kind of lead that realm and over there. And Arizona, they're the number 1 team in the country for a reason. They've just been playing at an exceptional level all season. And then in the coming weeks, though, I'll talk about that in a little bit. The Arizona schedule will be very tough, and you'll really see if Arizona is that number 1 team. Talk about it right now. I'll talk about it in a little bit. And then some of the freshmen that I didn't even mention, really. One of Nate I met at Tennessee, he's been actually phenomenal over SEC play. He's averaging about almost 20 points per game just in SEC play. Had a bit of a rough stretch in November, but sometimes that happens with freshmen. It takes a little bit of time, but he's playing phenomenal now. You got Ibuka over at Stanford. He's kind of hit a little bit of a rough patch as of late with Stanford, but another dude who's averaging over 20 points per game as a freshman, playing in the ACC, just phenomenal. Another great freshman there. I talked about Koa Pete a little bit already. And then Amari Allen over on Bama, playing kind of that big role, even though against Florida they kind of got dominated in the paint, like 70-ish, almost 70 points, I think, in the paint, which is just absolutely absurd. Happy to see that, strictly because Bama getting away with having, their G League stud over there getting in. And then just the last dude I want to highlight is over in Belmont, Ian Dillon. Belmont continues to know how to get great freshmen that will leave them in the portal, whether that's Gillespie or Cade Tyson. Gillespie, Cade Tyson over in Minnesota. Like they continue to find good freshmen, and Ian Dillon is no different. Check out Belmont play. They are a really, really well-oiled machine, and looking like they're gonna win the Missouri Valley this year. Since Drake's having a little bit of down year, so Belmont's definitely a team to watch play a little bit, and maybe watch them come March time. They're a very solid team. But then all right, kind of moving on. what I want to kind of get into is teams that are kind of getting hot right now. So a team that I think, these are kind of the teams that are getting hot at the right time right now. Teams that are getting hot at the right time. You got Indiana, 15-7, 5-5 in the Big Ten. They just can't coming off a win versus Purdue at home, big time W, and then a double OT, absolute thriller against you at UCLA. That game was absolutely nuts. They were up 10 with under 2 minutes left, blew the lead. Game goes into overtime. Got players fouling out on both sides. Game goes in double OT, and Indiana holds on with a free throw with about 0.3 seconds left to seal the game. Absolutely nuts game. Indiana's got a big test tonight at USC, making their finishing off that West Coast road trip at UCLA at USC. Going 2-0 in that West Coast trip will be huge. Like, see a lot of these teams in the Big Ten and the ACC take these kind of West Coast trips. Like UNC, for example, they went to Stanford and Cal and 0-2. It's not always the easiest going out to the West Coast and playing. So Indiana going 2-0 in that would be very big for them. That would also probably be their third Quad 1 win. They were 0-6 previously in Quad 1, and they finally got their first 2 Quad 1 wins here. So that is absolutely huge. And then looking at UCF next, they have quietly been under the radar, especially for me. I've watched them a bit this year, but didn't even realize they were 17-4. They're 6-3 in the Big 12. They just won at home against Texas Tech. They're 4-4 in Quad 1 games. Like they're very underrated, underappreciated team, I think, right now. They play at Houston on Wednesday. That's a game to watch out for. I think if they can battle with Houston and show that they belong kind of in that, upper tier of teams in the Big 12, that really is going to help them kind of solidify themselves as a March team as well. And then kind of looking at Kansas, I just talked about them a little bit with Darren Peterson, that huge win at Texas Tech last night, and then they beat their win against BYU on Saturday was also big to get them to 7-2 in the Big 12. Right now they're 6-5 in Quad 1 games, so they're kind of trying to position themselves off that 4 seed line, which is kind of where I see them right now, and into that 3 seed line. So that is pretty big. The next kind of notable games for them will be home to Arizona on Monday, February 14th. So this upcoming Monday. And then next Saturday, February 14th, they play at Iowa State, just the day before that top 16 will be revealed for what it'll look like by the selection committee, which is always pretty interesting to me, kind of see how they're thinking. And then looking at Michigan, 21 on the year, 10-1 in the Big Ten. He's got huge wins against Nebraska and at MSU. 8-0 in Quad 1 games, that one Quad 1 loss coming to Wisconsin. But they have just very much surprised me this year. I thought they would be, competing, maybe contending for the Big Ten. I would not think they were, kind of the favorites of the Big Ten. They had been playing some great ball. They play great, gritty defense. The Axel's been great. Elliot Cadeau, most UNC guards tend to be shot chuckers. Caleb Love, RJ Davis. Not saying that's a bad thing, because they're good when they're hot, but they're very streaky. So sometimes Cadeau can go through those streaks. It's kind of that one flaw maybe I see with them, but regardless, they've been playing absolutely phenomenal. Their kind of next big game will be at Purdue, February 17th, so that's a little bit down the road here in 2 weeks. And then a game I think I will be going to, I'll be in DC, so I'm hoping to be able to get to that game. They'll play against Duke in DC, which will be an absolute banger of a game. Duke versus Michigan in DC, both these teams will come in with just one loss, and that might be, Final Four, maybe a national championship preview right there, just with how good those teams have been playing this year. And then kind of looking at St. Louis, just want to highlight both these mid-majors. St. Louis, 21-1, 9-0 in the A10. That one loss coming to Stanford. So it counts as a Quad 2 loss. But they have just been playing phenomenal ball. They just blew out Dayton, who I thought was going to be pretty solid this year, but they have not really been too great. Their next kind of notable games, or a little bit in the future, they'll be playing, VCU at home February 20th, which I think could have some upset potential. VCU is always pretty solid. And then they play at Dayton February 24th. And that's really if Dayton can kind of get the ball rolling. It's just kind of me hoping more so they get the ball rolling and hopefully kind of get their get back. And one last thing about St. Louis is looking at them. They do play Davidson tonight. Robbie Avila is questionable for that game, so it's interesting to see if he plays or not. That could be a little bit of upset potential as well with those other two games I kind of touched on. And the last team I kind of want to talk about is Miami, Ohio. The Red Hawks, baby. 22-0 for the Red Hawks. Really exciting to see a MAC team like this put together such a phenomenal season. And I'll be able to talk about who they played. A lot of these bigger programs would refuse to put Miami, Ohio on the schedule. As the coaches said, they tried to schedule good teams at a conference, and nobody wanted to schedule them. It's just shitty luck of the draw, but I mean, some of those coaches might have been right because Miami, Ohio might have beat some of these teams. They've looked really good as of late. The games, in my opinion, to watch out for this Saturday, there's like a MAC Sunbelt Challenge, so they play Marshall at Marshall. I think that will be a very interesting game to watch. I think this should be good. They play Buffalo tonight as well at Buffalo. That could be a little bit of upset potential, but I think they survive against Buffalo. And then at UMass on February 17th will also be a game to watch for Miami, Ohio. UMass has been playing some great basketball in the MAC. So really exciting time here for these mid-major teams and kind of seeing how well they are. Both these teams are AP ranked. So always love seeing the mid-majors make some noise, especially in a time with the NLL and everyone talking about these power conferences kind of dominating pretty much. So always good to show the mid-majors some love. And then kind of looking at teams that are on the fall, teams that are not really meeting the expectations that we kind of thought, or I kind of thought coming in. Baylor, I love seeing how bad they've been since adding that G Leaguer. 2-7 in the Big 12, 12-9. Just a rough year for Scott Drew. 3-6 in the Quad 1 games, 2-3 in Quad 2 games. Pretty much no chance of making the tournament unless some sort of miracle happens. Pretty awesome to see, though, at least from the perspective of these G Leaguers coming in and not really helping their teams out as much as people made it seem. I still do agree that they shouldn't be allowed, but good to see that it's not really making too much of a difference for Baylor, at least. And then another team, Georgia, they've lost 3 straight games at Texas, home to Tennessee, and home to A&M this past Saturday. They've now fallen to 16-6, 4-5 in the SEC, especially in a down year for the SEC being 4-5. Does not look great for Georgia. 3-4 in Quad 1, 4-1 in Quad 2, with 1 Quad 3 loss as well. So they really got to start winning some of these Quad 1 games to build up that resume, or else it might be good night for the Bulldogs to make in the tournament. And then moving on to Memphis. Oh boy, Memphis. Oh boy, Penny Hardaway. Wow. I've never seen... Actually, no, that's not true. There's a consistency for Penny Hardaway of do less with more. This team may not be the best. Haggerty left. They had some players leave. Didn't bring in the best, recruiting class or transfer portal class. But you're Memphis in the American. You have the most money to spend in basketball. And they are 10-11, 5-4 in the American. Just lost at home on Sunday as well to Tulane. And they look bad. 1-4 in Quad 1 games. 1-5 in Quad 2. They are 1-9 in Quad 1 and Quad 2 games. That is atrocious. And then Quad 3 and 4, 9-2. They have 1 loss in Quad 3 and they have a loss in Quad 4. as Memphis. That is just despicable. Is it time for Penny Hardaway to be fired? Probably not. I don't see Memphis firing him. I think he should be. He's consistently underperformed with the talent he's had on his rosters. I think he probably has another year. If he has another year like this, he's definitely out. I think maybe we'll see how they do next year. I think they should fire him. I think there'll probably be some good coaches in the cycle this year. But, I mean, just absolutely atrocious season for Memphis. Terrible. And then Dayton, a mid-major team I was pretty high on coming into the year. I thought they would be pretty good. They played pretty competitively in a lot of their non-con games. They brought BYU to the brink. But they've just lost 4 straight games. They lost at LaSalle, lost at St. Joseph's, then lost at home to Rhode Island, and then just got blown out of the water last Friday at St. Louis. Just absolute belting. And that brings them to 5-4 in the A10 and really no shot at doing anything, in my opinion, in the A10. I don't see them being able to make a run with the way they're playing. Maybe knock off like a George Mason, or I don't see them beating St. Louis, maybe at least in the A10 tournament, maybe in the game that they play them at home, but 0-3 in quad 1, 2-2 in quad 2, and then 4-3 in quad 3. Just absolutely terrible. Could not be worse for Dayton over the last 2 weeks. Went from 14-4 to 14-8. Went from 5-0 in the A10 to 5-4. Just a rough last 2 weeks. And then kind of switching over to Miami, they've been an interesting team to watch. Their non-con wasn't too great. Didn't really schedule too much meat on that bone, which means that they have to perform then in the ACC. And they just lost on Saturday at home to Cal in a game that they really just choked away. Game they definitely shouldn't have lost. But with that, I mean, I think this puts them and leaves them on the bubble at 17-5 and 6-3. Maybe they're 10, but they're definitely flirting now. They're 2-3 in quad 1 games, 3-1 in quad 2, and they have 3-1 in quad 3. So having that quad 3 loss definitely does not help. And that's with a loss at home to Florida State, who has been terrible this year. So kind of tough on them. And then finally, kind of Alabama. They just got blown out on Sunday to Florida. They dropped to 14-7 overall, 4-4 in the SEC, leaving them at 3-6 in quad 1 and 6-1 in quad 2. That one quad 2 loss coming at home to Texas, which really is not that great. The last 2 games losing at home to Texas and Tennessee, not the best. And that was kind of my recap of what's been kind of going on the last about 2 weeks in the college basketball world, with all these freshmen dominating, highlighting some mid-major teams that I'd really like to see a run, some teams that are hitting their peak at the right time, less than a month ago till March, and as well as, some teams that are starting to fall off as we get closer and closer towards conference tournaments and then eventually, postseason play with March Madness. But yeah, that's all from me. I'll be back Sunday. I'm going to do a top 16 reveal Sunday. Hopefully recap maybe some of the Saturday games, see kind of what happened, and then hopefully I can get, a guest on Sunday. I'd like to see with everyone's schedule, it being Super Bowl Sunday and all. Try to get that out, as early as possible Sunday before we get to watch that Seahawks Patriots game. But yeah, that's all from me. Peace, y'all.